So would like all the panelists to come on audio and video since we are starting now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this discussion by Citizen Matters Chennai. We are back with our event of the month. My name is Padmaja, reporter with Citizen Matters, and we are a media organization reporting on critical urban issues, solutions, and ideas. Today's topic for the panel discussion is creating mental health safe spaces in colleges. I would like to take 2 minutes to tell you about our work since some of you may be new. Citizen Matters is a civic media platform that serves as a knowledge exchange with insightful reports on critical urban issues, ideas, and solutions for cities, diving deep into issues which affect our quality of life, including water, commute, public safety, air quality, governance, education, environment, local economy, and so on. We bring together civic media, data, diverse voices to help citizens build sustainable, equitable, and livable cities. We provide in-depth information and insights on various critical urban issues to facilitate understanding and tools for citizens to become change makers. So before we go ahead, I would like to establish certain ground rules. If there are audience watching it, would like to share your questions on the chat box on YouTube live stream, or you can inboxes on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. We'll try to address those questions as much as possible. And we request everybody to not engage in any sort of trolling or abuse during the event. And it is of great pleasure that we have organized a discussion that is so pertinent today, creating a mental health safe space for college students in Chennai. Students not only from Chennai, but all over the country come down here to Chennai for their higher education. With academic pressure, new atmosphere, aspirations to achieve, and many other reasons, the focus on mental health of students becomes even more significant. We cannot look at mental health in silos. We have to address the issue holistically. What are some common triggers that cause mental health issues among students? Are there systems to address the mental health issues faced by students? How efficient are they? These are some broad questions that we will be looking at today. Before I go ahead, I want to thank our panelists for making time for the panel discussion on a busy day. So I welcome our panelists. Subhashini Raghupati, the Dean at Madras School of Social Work. She is, apart from being a teacher and administrator, she is also a psychologist who renders professional services to many higher educational boards. Previously, she was the HOD of psychology at Justice Bashir Ahmed Saeed College. Moreover, she has spoken in a lot of national and international conferences and forums. Welcome, ma'am. The next panelist is Kanchana, former psychology HOD from Women's Christian College. She has over 3 decades of teaching and research experience. She is the former head of the Department of Psychology at Women's Christian College. She has implemented mental health programs for youth. In addition to that, she has also worked with special children, juvenile delinquents, and their families. With her training in counseling, she has supervised PG students in counseling skills. She has also bagged the Best Teacher Award from Tamil Nadu Teachers Association in 2019, Pittsburgh Cluster Award in 1998, Rotary Club of Madras Metro Award in 2022 for excellence in teaching. Our next panelist is Lalita M., a PhD scholar from IIT-Madras. Lalita had done her master's in sociology from the University of Hyderabad and currently pursuing her PhD in urban studies in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at IIT-Madras. She has been active in the Ambedkarite politics and has also been voicing out for the rights of Dalit Bahujans, especially in the field of higher education. Along with her, we also have Garima, another student from IIT. The next panelist we have is S. Srividya, an academician and clinical psychologist. who has over 20 years of experience in the field of behavioral coaching and emotional intelligence. She works with organizations, corporates, institutions, and individuals to improve their emotional intelligence and overall well being. She's an integral part of the first cohort of women entrepreneurs trained by National Commission of Mission in partnership with the IIM Bangalore to create one-of-a-kind product for mental health to prevent suicides. I welcome all the panelists. So I'm going to roll out with the questions. So let me start with the students from IIT. So I would like to know what are some causes and triggers for mental health issues in your college. You can share experiences of students with respect to mental health issues, even your own personal experiences, and how different factors contribute to mental health issues.
Thank you, Padma. Good evening, everyone. I'm clear, or should I put the mic closer? Yeah, okay. So I have done my graduation from Stella Maris College in Max in the year 2014 to 17. So I would like to bring the journey of the students' college experience from the Stella Maris to the IIT-Madras. So how was one of the evident differences I experienced, also observed between these two campuses is the diverse demographic composition of the students community, especially in Stella Maris and IIT-Madras. So here diversity, I did not mean in terms of regions, but in terms of social and economic backgrounds of the students. So in Stella, there are many support systems. In assisting the poor students, also by assisting them through the communicative skills, soft skills, value education, giving importance more to their self rather than the marks and exams. But in the campus like IIT, it is very competitive, only marks and exam oriented. So this is one of the important factors, the diversity of students and acknowledging the social and economic diversity of the students. So by drawing these comparison, I'll go deeper into the IIT experiences based on two category of students. One is the undergraduate students, masters, BTech, MA students. The other one is the PhD scholars. So firstly, I'll give you the experiences, life of the BTech students, and then I go to the PhD scholars, mental health issues. So when a student is entering into a college space or in an institute, firstly, they need to develop a sense of belonging to the campus spaces. Firstly, they need to feel that they are included to the campus community. So that is major missing in the IIT campus, because in IIT, it is exclusively dominated by the upper caste and class elites. That makes the students who are coming from the marginalized backgrounds to feel alienated and excluded from all the campus activities. Especially, they are discriminated based on availing reservation, and their JEE scores, their entrance scores, and so many factors such that they have been discriminated by their own classmates, also the faculties. Institute has a major role in building the students' communities, the fraternity and comradeship among them. But when we talk about the mental health issues and factors that causing the mental health, we forget to address the role of the institution in facilitating and defining these campus spaces. So one of my focus is that bringing the institution's role in addressing these problems. So when I mentioned about the support groups, which was available in the campuses like Stella Maris for the poorer marginalized group of students, in IIT there is a lack of guidance and mentorship for those who don't perform enough to their merit. There is no guidance or mentorship to assist those students who actually need those things to survive in those campuses. Also, This is one side. If we talk about the academic, what about the co-curricular activities, which is meant to be fun and enjoyable for the students? So if we talk the only the academic pressure, IIT has one of the best facilities in terms of providing the extracurricular activities in terms of sports and other clubs, drama, music, and every clubs. The IIT is one of the best campuses providing these facilities for the students. But still, why these extracurricular activities are not helping the marginalized students is a question, because these co-curricular activities are equally competitive. Like how it is there in academic, it is equally also competitive, because only those students who are grown up in those cultural capital can excel in these fields. So even in the co-curricular activities, only those who are well performative get their places. They can be in their institute teams. Only they can be in their clubs. All this. So again, the marginalized students are being felt excluded from these spaces under their power, under their control. So another thing is the accessibility to institutional bodies, accessibility to the faculties. The privileged students get more access, they are more comfortable to approach the faculties compared to the students who are coming from the SC/ST and OBC backgrounds. Those are in fact, every students most of the students face the mental health issues, but those have the privilege are comfortable to approach to the faculties and express their state of mental health, and seek for a support, or seek for any extension for the deadlines and all. But the marginalized students who are even more vulnerable to these spaces are remain silent or made to be invisibilized in these campus spaces. Also, largely these spaces are dominated by the upper caste and class cultural capital, and this environment that makes the students feel alienated on campus. On the other hand, I'm coming to the PhD scholars. PhD scholars face different mental health issues, because the MA students and BTech students, they have to be in the classroom from the morning to evening. They are supposed to interact with every faculties in the department. But in the case of PhD students, they have to maintain the rapport with their supervisors, with their departments, with their DC members and all. So also for the engineering and science department, it is even more critical, because they have to be maintain the lab. They have to be in the lab, and there will be rules and regulations to how to access those instruments and all. So also it is made to believe that PhD life and mental health issues are normal, that we started accepting, believing this norm when we get into PhD, that everyone go through this, everyone has to go through this. So but every scholar also there, most of the scholars have expressed that there are instances that when they undergo stress especially during stress, depression, and anxiety, especially during the deadlines, in terms of maintaining a rapport with their supervisors, and anxiety regarding the publications, conferences, research outputs, and their career progress. And some of the students are undergoing therapy throughout their research period. But all this what I mentioned about the progress, publications, and their anxieties are common among the PhD scholars across the countries. And adding to this, academic disadvantages faced by the marginalized students add to their burden to excel in their academic career by proving their merit. This is also because the marginalized students are continuously stigmatized for availing the reservation. I would also share some of the practical constraints that SC/ST OBC students, underprivileged students, undergo during their PhD period. because of their lack of academic networks and social capital, which their colleagues possess, these students automatically have a disadvantage in terms of academic opportunities. This is despite them being in the active, vibrant academic community like IITs. This is mainly due to the lack of peer interaction, especially due to the dominance exerted by the privileged students in every spaces that's alienating the other students. There is also a study criticizing this aspect of normalizing the PhD life and the mental health issues, saying that this rhetoric fails to acknowledge the good practices that we can learn and implement widely in the researching. I'm not undervaluing the truth of the mental health issues that PhD scholars undergo, but why there isn't any discussion or practices that show us what is then the healthy way of research. And hence, the students from the marginalized sections either continue struggling to survive or quit. There are 19,000 students from the SC, ST, OBC communities have dropped from IITs, IIMs, and central universities in the last 5 years. So I conclude by saying that mental health issues have been approached from an individualistic point of view. Still, when it becomes larger, when it comes to, as I'm coming from the IIT-Madras, we have witnessed the back-to-back suicides. It becomes a larger, as a pattern. There is something is happening inside an institution. There is a pattern in the suicide. So here we have to focus more institutionally rather than approaching individually. So that is one of the main point I'm stressing here. As institution plays a major role in defining these spaces and defining the cultural images of the camp. Thank you.
Thank you, Lalita. Thank you for sharing your points. I would like to bring in Garima to add on to what she has to say about the MA experience.
Hi, thank you. I think Lalita has largely covered most of the um, severe issues that we are facing in terms of um, in terms
Right.
of
And also, if you could
marginalized.
touch about the systems present in your college for mental health recourse, like are there any prevention of sexual harassment committee, internal complaints committee, or an anti-ragging committee, or any kind of peer counseling or student counseling systems in your college? If you could also comment about that, that would be great.
Yeah. I was thinking of doing that since Lalita has covered most of the issues that we are facing. So we do have some systems in place which are supposed to address the mental health issues that we face, at least on paper, I would say. So, for instance, we have a wellness center which has a total of 4 counselors at the moment. There are plans to expand it, but you can understand that in a campus with around 10,000 students, 4 counselors is hardly enough to actually address the needs of the students. Then we do have a psychiatrist in the institute hospital, and we do have grievance redressal committees and everything. But what happens with uh, the mental health facilities? I would like to focus on wellness center, which is supposed to be the most accessible sort of facility in terms of access to counselors and therapists, trained therapists and counselors. So what happens is we have found there is a lack of sensitization towards towards the specific needs or the ways in which the mental health of people with different marginalizations need to be addressed. So, for instance, um, there is a lack of training about disability sensitization or say sexuality or gender or caste. So there is a lack of sensitization specifically about these marginalizations and disabilities and how they should be addressed. Another thing that we find is that there is a sort of lack of understanding about the process of mental health, where it is just the systems, they sort of try to understand, they try to problematize the issues sort of without actually looking at the students and thinking of what in what ways the students can address the issues or the systems can address the issues. There is an attempt to just sort students in the pre-decided categories of mental health issues without sort of completely listening to the students. So these are some of the problems or some of the issues that I've found with mental health, which we have found with the mental health facilities in the campus. Uh,
Right.
there is work being done, but there is a lot more that could be done, especially in an institutional capacity. Yeah.
Right, right. And I would thank you for your experience, sharing your experiences, and as well as commenting on the systems that addresses mental health in IIT. So I would like to bring in Dr. Srividya. She has to leave by 6:45. So I would like to ask her, what have been your experiences while working with youngsters, college students? Like, what sort of triggers their mental health issues from a clinical psychologist perspective? And do you think the colleges right now has efficient systems to address these issues?
Yeah, okay. So with regard to the issues, what I have been, children have been approaching me from the college perspective is there has been abundant access to the technology today, information, so I've had cases after COVID on, addiction to the gadgets, and that is uh, becoming a major issue. They're not able to focus, and there is a lack of motivation, self-motivation isn't there. And I always, address this point when I go to the colleges. It's like the flip side of the abundance mindset. Today, everything is available. Access to information or access to anything is so easy, unlike earlier. So it is like, they don't have that focus. They're not very sure what is that they really want in life. Okay, the purpose is lacking. Because it is again not only from the wealthy backgrounds, it is from across other people as well. So as an institution, like Lalita was mentioning in other colleges, but with regard to IIT, because of late I'm closely working with IIT, they've been inviting to me to talk on various things, and we're also working out a model on whatever she has mentioned. So what I found, the information gathered is, though people are coming from diverse backgrounds, but there is a lack of inclusion isn't there. Because when she said, the student has to feel belonged when they get into the campus. So unless that inclusion is not there, belonging is it is going to be very unrealistic. So, and I also say, that open communication between the faculty and the students has to be established. Because as she rightly pointed out, where only the privileged students are able to, talk to them, they have built a rapport with them, whereas the children from the marginalized sections, they are being stigmatized on so many aspects. So this has been, this is widely in the universities, because I work in a university where we do have, a population around 15 to 20,000. So this is more likely to happen in a premier institution, the government institutions, rather than a private. Okay. So I strongly advocate, an open communication, that open mindset. I think it has to be more of student oriented, and a little more that empathy, the lack of empathy towards students. It's not like whether they are marginalized or the privileged. It is like they are the students, whoever it is, when they get into the campus, everybody are my students only. I think if that fair approach and treatment is there, I think that itself is the first step towards fighting against these issues.
And how can we sensitize faculty members, since there are, as the students pointed out, that there are only 4 student counselors in the campus. So teachers play a major part in interacting with the students, and the college atmosphere is also majorly influenced by faculty members and also non-faculty members that students interact on a daily basis. So how can we sensitize faculties on not just mental health issues, but also the triggers that lead to mental health issues among students?
So I think a strong support system is required here, the peer mentoring. The universities where I worked in a deemed university. So we formulated something called, mental health ambassadors. It's not like we cannot cater to, just because there are 15,000 students in a campus, we cannot have hundreds of counselors there. It isn't possible also. So I think it's better to form a student support network, though it is existing in IIT in the name of Mitra and Sati, I know, but how the sensitization has to happen where even the faculty members also have to involve. So it is similar to whatever, we run programs on diversity and inclusion across the corporates. And this is one of the major area where they really focus on, and there is a separate department which focuses on all these aspects when it compared to the corporates. So I think a similar structure has to be, formed even in the institutions, to get it established in the long run to avoid all these problems. So a network of student support system has to be there in place, so that it's like, the peer support group, so that the first line, they will be the first line of contact. And then if they find something, triggers are there, they can get back to the counselor. So it is really not feasible or possible, to have so many counselors across the institutions, practically thinking about that. So I think it is only the student body, that network has to be strengthened to avoid these problems. Because it's easy to open up with my peer rather than coming to a counselor. Because when I was also working in a university, like, people they don't like coming to the counselor. They feel like, what if my friend knows that I'm coming to you? I have that stigma. I don't want to come to you. So they don't want to come to the counselor. And it's like going to a counselor's room is like, is there anything wrong with you? Because it is not that open communication is not that. I think even the faculties in the classrooms, they can talk about this mental health problem. It's like everybody are prone to this. Nobody is, immune to these mental health issues. At one point or the other, everybody gets stressed, depressed, or anxiety issues are common to everybody, So it is like, when I have a fall, now people are openly talking about their diabetes and hypertension. Why can't they talk about their stressful situations? When the faculties open up, talk openly with the students, I think that itself feeling like, okay, I'm not alone. Everybody are going through this problem. Okay, to normalize the conversation in the classrooms. I think that is the first step towards destigmatizing these mental health problems.
Right. It is important to destigmatize and break the taboo. So we've looked at IIT closely right now, and I would like to bring in Dr. Subhashini. She's the Dean of Madras School of Social Work, which is one of the well-established institute of social sciences in Chennai. So I would like to understand, what are the systems that the college has to address mental health issues, any other grievances faced by these students?
Okay. I mean, the comparison from IIT, I come from a very small institute. We are about 850 students. So comparatively, we are a very small campus. And most of us know our students, by face, if not by name. Department-wise, of course, they are very much connected. The first thing is we have a very good orientation program. It's for about 2 days. And then even departments take the thing of orienting their students. So we sort of bonding or connecting takes place from day one itself. So that's one important thing that we do. Our orientation programs connect students with the staff. So that's one thing. Then we have a mentor-mentee system where, each teacher is given only 5 students. So that also helps them connect. And it is not time bound. It is not only on this day you can come and meet or something. Anytime the student feels like sharing something, she or he is open. It's a co-ed institution. So girls and boys are allowed to approach the mentor whenever they want. That's something that we found works. And because it's a recorded thing, I mean, recorded in the sense handwritten, something to be kept. So people do take it seriously, and we have a mentor-mentee system. Apart from that, we have a counseling center itself. In our campus, we have two counselors who come from outside, our own teachers who are professionally trained in it. They do counseling for outsiders. So we have a counseling center in our campus, catering both to outside students and public, and to our own students. Our students are counseled by two people from outside, so that we try to see confidentiality and things like that. We have a grievance cell, we have a suggestion box, so people are, and then the atmosphere there is quite open in the sense everybody is free to communicate, and our students are that way. It's mostly a postgraduate. All our courses are, excepting for 2 courses which are undergraduate. So they are a little more mature also. So they do feel very free to tell whatever they want to express. So we give them freedom of expression. That's one thing that's going on well in our campus. We have a strong student body council. We call it itself Student Development Council because it's very proactive. These students see that their energy is utilized in various ways, because that's actually something that you keep in also some cathartic. So it's not just academics in our campus, it is an overall development of the student. So we talk about personality development or an overall development of the person. So we are focusing, and if you know social work, psychology, these are papers or subjects which people can relate with. So the academic pressure part of it, we see that it is kept low, but interpersonal skills are, promoted, self-confidence. We have a lot of these soft skill programs. We have certificate courses, everything trying to talk about being assertive, being happy, all positive psychology concepts. We try to see that are all offered in the form of soft skills. So that's something that is also helping our students to cope up. And I think that's one important thing that I appreciate in our college, which is taking our students to take life, as it comes. So being prepared for life is itself very important. Then another basic thing is, since it is social work and psychology, these are 2 of our major departments. We work with grassroots. So that feeling of empathy, being socially, always wanting to connect socially, or, social inclusivity, all these things are imbibed in them itself, so that they don't feel, okay, I am this and she is this or he is that. So that sort of inclusivity and social sensitivity is very prevalent in the college because of their working with, all sections of marginalized society. Our students work with, when they go for their field work and things like that, they are very connected with the society. We celebrate a community day. We don't think of Christmas or Diwali or something. We only, during Pongal time, we call it Community Day, and every year we invite a different group set of, from the community, any marginalized group. We invite them to the college. We allow them to spend the entire day where our students interact. They speak to the students, whatever way they can, express and share whatever they want to, whether it is material sharing or psychologically they want to connect with these people, they get to know more about that. So that's one thing that I think is also helpful in, bridging that thing of who is, so academics, we are doing quite fairly well. So academic pressure is there, but overall development is our main focus. So that's something to be very much appreciated. Workshops, everything is more to do with personality development. So that emotional maturity is important. That feeling of, yes, I can contribute rather than I'm a receiver. I can do something for society from an early age. I think that is, as postgraduate students, they start thinking of what I can do for society rather than why should I become a victim of anything that's going on around? How do I tackle that situation, take it as a challenge and work on that? So probably our approach itself, as they come into college, they approach their social work and psychology as, they have inculcated that feeling that, yes, I can be of some support to others, rather than I needing support. So we rarely have, it's not that we are, foolproof or something, that we don't have any problems, but our problems are very much internally tackled, and everybody goes on. We have a hostel with about 100 odd students. Everybody is happy and, carrying on, rather than facing it as a big issue, because every one of us is very much approachable at any time. We are approachable. So it's on the phone, it is in person, anytime we are approachable. So I think our system is very conducive to see that mental health is a concern, but then it's not a great concern like our Lalita or the other girl did narrate. So here in our campus, that pressure is not so much felt.
Right. So as much as inculcating positive psychological concepts in students, it's also significant to have POSH committees and anti-ragging cells and internal complaint cells. So I want to understand how colleges that lack these bodies or these systems, how does that affect mental health?
The question is posed to me?
Yeah. Yes,
okay. Definitely, because see, these are committees that have, off late, because of so many challenges that people have started meeting, that we have started all these committees. But there is something that should be, imbibed in each of us to see that how do you tackle situations, rather than, the committees are only, paperwork. And because of that, of course, these meetings are going on and things like that. But then there's something that students should inculcate in themselves, that yes, we are made. So value education, which, I'm quite a senior person and age-wise. So I would see in our time, there was nothing like value education, or there was nothing like soft skills and all. But today, our children are being taught all these things. So I think it should be something that you should imbibe in the children. They should inculcate these things, that, yes, I am a responsible person. So this thing of social responsibility should be so much imbibed in them, that these things, these committees are all committees. But it should be something that they should get into it and feel that, yes, it's a very safe place. Each one respects the other gender. Each one respects, that personal space. So all these things should be rather than being taught to them, they should see that it is very much inculcated.
Right, ma'am. Right. Thank you so much. And we have to inculcate the social responsibility, as Dr. Subhashini rightly put. And also coming back to faculties being aware of mental health, and teachers and educationists being aware of mental health, I would like to bring in Dr. Kanchana to talk about how aware are Chennai college teachers or college teachers in Chennai. As a professor of psychology, you're also a counseling psychologist as well as a teacher. So I would like to ask you that question.
Hi, Padma. Good evening to everybody. I think, roughly, if you say how aware are college teachers with regard to mental health issues, I would say it is a very low percentage. Because recently we did conduct a mental health literacy workshop. So that brought to light that what people are generally aware of is gross or grave mental illnesses. So that they're able to notice. They're able to notice when somebody is, psychotic, or, somebody loses track of where he is, or he's speaking in a weird manner, or he's dressing in a bizarre manner. So these sort of things are just standing out, and it's very evident to people that, this particular student has a problem, or have a neighbor like this who has a problem. So this is very evident. But mental health literacy goes much beyond that. It goes much beyond looking at the illnesses and the disorders. So that is where I'm seeing a serious gap in the minds of most educated people. There is a small percentage who are quite aware and who are sending referring students to counselors for the right kind of reasons. So even in our institution, we have a set of individuals who are very alert to changes in certain patterns of students. Okay, a good performing student is slipping down, or a student who is alert in class is, continuously taking the back bench or she's putting her head down. So just they take that extra time and effort to call the student aside and ask her what's happening and refer the student to the counselor and even take the trouble to follow up with the counselor and find out what the progress is. Okay, that I would say is a small percentage. Some percentage of teachers are sending the students to counselors to discipline them. So the student is creating a problem in class. So then they feel the counselor can set the student right and to discipline them. But a large majority have to be sensitized in terms of what causes mental health problems. So I think because teachers play a very large part in shaping up identity of students and shaping up self-esteem of students and in creating the confidence in the students. So if teachers can realize their importance, not only in imparting the knowledge of the subject, but how they can shape up and mold the individuals, I think a large part of the problem would be taken care of in terms of mental health issues. So mental health literacy, if you know, in terms of its various aspects, one aspect would look at the various illnesses and the conditions. The other aspect would look at how to detect minor changes, how to detect certain consistent patterns that you are seeing in your student, and when should you respond to the student, and how should you respond to the student, and how sensitively you can approach the student. So all of these are involved in mental health literacy programs, which I feel is a must among educators because they are the ones who are in contact with the students for 5+ hours in a day. And when the students go back home, most often working parents, the parents might not be at home, or very often they go back home and they sit in their own bedrooms with their cell phones. So again, there you find that, quite a large number are now having communication problems with parents and so on. So a lot of issues have to be handled and there has to be a mental health awareness program and literacy program for educators.
Right. So this mental health program, how do we sensitize teachers? Are there any specific guidelines to sensitize teachers, other stakeholders, not just on mental health, but also on inclusivity, regarding disability, caste, gender, and other triggers for mental health issues, as Lalita and Garima pointed out?
Yeah. Actually, I think the inputs given by Lalita and the other student are quite holistic in terms of the issues in an educational institution. But every institution has its own culture. One has to understand the culture of the institution. The IIT has a separate culture. And the academic stresses that come for an IIT student, the same kind of academic pressures will not be felt in a college student. Because typical college student, a UG student, is not under pressure to publish papers or get research projects sanctioned and so on. And and as Dr. Subhashini said, it's a small college that they are from, and therefore the personal contact is maintained. So the first step in bringing in any kind of sensitization program, I feel, is to understand the culture of the organization, is to understand the culture of the educational setup. What are the lines of communication? How inclusive is the setup? And how open is the management to programs, mental health programs? What are the specific needs among the students? And what are the various student groups, various diverse, do they come from various southern parts of Tamil Nadu? And is the problem more of speaking in English more than anything else, which creates problems among students? Or are they very diverse coming from various parts of India? And therefore, so from where is this problem of inclusion coming in? So I think as a first step, rather than jumping into any program, some kind of analysis, a study, and a survey has to be done of an institution to understand the ethos and from where the problems are coming from. Then, as a next step, all of the stakeholders have to be covered. all of the stakeholders. By this, I mean the teachers, I mean the students, and I also mean the non-teaching staff. It would be good if parents can also be involved, but I don't know how accessible they will be, particularly in a college setup. But definitely, these three groups are very accessible. And every unit forms a vital part in the whole organization. If one person suffers in the organization, that creates a ripple effect and causes distress among their own colleagues. So that is why we have to look at every section or subsection of the institution. So we could organize programs like if you take students. In fact, we had a program called the CALM project that was running right through the year, last academic year. And we did an analysis of the problems encountered by students on campus. And then we tailor-made workshops, and we gave them 13 workshops. And these workshops were all peer-facilitated workshops. So we didn't want to stand in front of students as senior faculty and tell them about emotional intelligence or relationships or love life or whatever. But these were facilitated by senior PG students of psychology. And their modules were supervised by faculty members. So behind the scene, we were helping them. But on the day of the workshop, it was the students who were carrying it through. And we would send these flyers out. And it was amazing to see how, within a short span of 1 hour, we were getting 80 to 100 registrations. And that was the need. And students just lapped it up. And we covered diverse topics which would be of interest to students, right? From self-esteem, self-awareness, relationships, how to tackle your exams, and so on. So these are covered across campuses, across the students, and it was open for people to attend.
Right.
So,
so all of these, ma'am, are you stuck?
Yes. No, I didn't know whether you wanted to raise a query. That's why I stopped.
No, ma'am. I just wanted to add on that these aspects require a lot of organizational will to bring in these interventions.
Exactly. So I would say that this is very low cost if the organization is looking at the cost factor, because you're not bringing in an outside expert to carry out this workshop for whom you have to pay an expert charge. It is the PG students within campus who have a knowledge of behavioral science. So I'm not too sure whether all campuses will have psychology students, but at least they will have sociology or social work students who can be, tutored and who can be trained to carry out such programs for the entire community. And if the organization, if the management has to oppose this, I don't see any reason why, because as I told you, it is very viable and there is no cost involved in this. And it is an excellent learning experience. It is like you're hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. So the recipients are also gaining from it, participants, and also the student facilitators have a great time organizing the workshop. It's been a great learning experience for them as well. So I think I would proclaim this as a very good model that has worked for us and that can probably be emulated by other colleges where some kind of a behavioral science department or background is available. Then as far as faculty are concerned, definitely they need awareness programs. And I would say more than giving them information and knowledge about various programs, various aspects of mental health, they need stress management programs. Because, generally any working women, I mean, I'm coming from a women's college. So a working woman is multitasking, going back home, taking care of the family and coming to college and taking care of teaching and other work. So typically, if they are stress-free, if they know how to manage their own issues and problems, I think they will be able to lend a helping hand to students who are having problems. Because if they feel overburdened themselves, they're not going to give that extra time and space to the students who come in with a problem. So the programs for teaching staff and non-teaching staff should focus on their own wellness from a holistic perspective, should focus on stress management, and then you can bring in the mental health literacy aspects, which we also did. We have done this mental health literacy workshop for teaching staff, and for non-teaching staff, we focus mostly on stress management, but without giving them much, literary information. It was all through games and activities, and at the end of it, they were so happy. The gardeners and ayahs were so happy, and they would go back saying, "And the mari, adikadi in the mari vainga," and all that. So I think every section of an organization needs inputs, and that has to be tailor-made according to the culture of the organization. And this is not a one-time show. It can't be done with one workshop and then everybody gets sensitized. This has to be done periodically. Periodically, to the extent that people are imbibing some of the values and thoughts that are being communicated to the workshop, because we are, I think humankind is diehard when it comes to kicking off habits. We are master of habits. So then whatever we listen to, sometimes we are just cognitively understanding, but we are not really practicing it. So if we have to really practice it, we have to be exposed to it again and again and again and again, right from inclusion, right from diversity, right from various aspects of mental health, how to gain self-confidence, how to keep your self-esteem even if you have a failure. These are some key questions that the students have to learn. How to be resilient in the face of stress, because stress, you can't protect people from stress. It can be any kind of stress. So, but how do you pick up your resilience? So this kind of skill building has to happen in an ongoing fashion. And this, as I told you, is a low-cost initiative. And if the college does not have an expertise, probably they can approach a nearby college within the community which might have that expertise, which can conduct such programs for them, facilitated by their own students.
Right, ma'am. Right. Right. Thank you so much for sharing these tips, ideas, and strategies for other colleges to emulate. But even though some colleges are doing all these interventions like WCC, there are certain Chennai colleges that are aware that their atmosphere is toxic. So unless there is a suicide case that has become like they see it as a PR issue, like there's hardly anything being done in across Chennai in many colleges. So I would like to bring in Lalita, and I would like to ask her if they have reached out to these systems present in IIT or Stella about your mental health, and whether how responsive they were. Like, did they help you?
I wanted to share this thing that Srividya ma'am was there because she's working with IIT, but I think she left now. Actually, some of as Garima was mentioning about the Mitra, Sati, and all Students Wellness Center, it's there. But like Mitra is only students initiative, only students are there, and the Students Wellness is in collaboration with the faculty members, and there are the medical counselors and psychologists in the health centers. But when we talk about how effective these centers are to the students, then that is a big question for the marginalized students. However, it is helpful. It is helpful for most of the students who are approaching them. As Srividya ma'am said, there is a stigmatized thing when students are approaching the health centers and counselors and all. That is one. There is a stigma. There's a stigma in approaching the counselors. The other thing is the students are hesitant to approach the counselors. They have a larger question. What there will be a change if I'm approaching, because there are different problems. Not one factor that causes them or that triggers their mental health, that triggers them to the suicidal thoughts. There are multiple factors that together comes in and that triggers. So the students think the counselors doesn't have any power to communicate their cause of mental health issue to the faculty or the department. If the student is facing any problem in their exam or assignment, or any problem because the faculty has uh, did something or told something, the counselor does not have any power here to convey this problem to the department or the faculty. So they think that it won't lead to any change. This has been expressed by some of the undergraduate students. Also, the relationship between the counselors and students is it's only between them. So it's like the role of counselors, they can help the students to overcome the stress, to handle this depressive state, but also they can only the medical doctor can provide them a certificate that so and so student is diagnosed with depression, and with that certificate the student can appeal for ask for a request for a uh, uh, extension in their exam, appearing for an exam, or extension in their assignment submission. But it will give them the extension, but nothing changes, nothing, the atmosphere or environment around them will change. So this is one of the reasons why they hesitate to approach the counselor. This has been expressed by the students community. And other thing, and this I wanted to mention when Srividya ma'am was there. But then other thing is, unless these centers and wellness centers and institutions are caste, class, and gender sensitive, whatever, and they understand the social diversity of the students, instead of blaming their individual ability to cope with the system, whatever the measures they undertake to help the students will not be effective, also approachable by the marginalized students. That there will be a stop. And unless there is a sensitive, inclusive, and interdisciplinary approach to these issues. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Right. Thank you so much, Lalita. I want to open the floor to Dr. Subhashini and Dr. Kanchana about how colleges can take feedback and how these systems can be made better and institutionalized, instead of like leaving it to colleges and like letting them have their own approach. Dr. Subhashini, you're on mute.
Yeah. No, Kanchana?
So one of the things that colleges can do is with regard to strengthening the mentor-mentee system. Very often this is there on paper. Student advisor is allotted a few students and is there on paper, and they are expected to monitor their academic progress. And if these mentors can be supported, mentors can be supported with knowledge, the right kind of attitude, and how to be the first line responders, then I think a lot can be gained as a result, because sometimes students can hesitate to come to their respective teachers. They might probably relate a little more closely to their mentors or advisors. So equipping the mentors with sufficient skills to understand if the person is having a problem, with basic listening skills, how to listen so that you enable people to express their problem without being judged, without feeling that I am useless, and so on, and how to be an empathetic listener. I think these basic skills, if it is taught to the mentor, and the institution can also provide sufficient time for the mentor-mentee contact hours, so that becomes more viable, rather than leaving it to this to happen after college hours, where teachers might be rushed and leaving, and then students are also rushed. So if it is incorporated within the system, where they make a contact with the mentor and the mentor is equipped with this know-how, I think a lot can be done in the process.
I'll just add a couple of points to what Dr. Kanchana mentioned. I think we should think in terms of all teachers. We have what is called a faculty development program. If at least one of the faculty development programs concentrates more on counseling, basic counseling skills, then it can be something to do with mental health, a broad topic on mental health, especially not like what Dr. Kanchana mentioned. We are not talking about serious mental health issues because that gets recognized, that needs psychiatric help and things like that. But what students go through, mental health issues that students go through, I think every teacher must be sensitized. So some program, and how do you deal with that? At first level, how do you deal with that? That should be also taught to every professor. Has like an orientation program, or in the FDP itself, they should have something called for counseling, basic counseling skills should be taught to them. And then mental health, then competency building should also be taught to them so that students are motivated to see what is their competency, what are their pluses, and work on those potentials rather than feeling low because of varied reasons. It could be academic pressure, it could be their socioeconomic background. So many things can pull, their family background can be there. So many things could pull them down. But how do you, that resilience, how do you fight all this and yet be successful in life? Because everybody, there is a basic instinct in all of us to fight anything and come up in life. So that should also be something that teachers should be knowing about it and see that they, as part of their curriculum. It's not like only academic teaching, because a good teacher is a teacher who, if it's a 1 hour, 60-minute period or 50-minute period, mostly 40 minutes must be spent on academic inputs. Another 10 minutes must be more interactive, where even students start thinking that, yes, this is a teacher I can relate to. So about 10 minutes of, a quality time should be on interaction. It could be, something, an article from the newspaper. It can be anything. All that we are trying to see is that what is happening in society and how best you can take it, because that itself can improve mental health. So I think teachers must be very much sensitized to mental health issues. What is mental health? And then some counseling skills. These are some things that I think every teacher should know. How to handle children, how to adolescents. These are all late adolescents, early youth, young people who come to campuses. So what are the most issues that can disturb them? Okay, like our girl went on talking about, this feeling that, yes, this is a section of in that entire campus, some of them not so, they're all academically probably achievers. That's why they've gone into the IIT campus. But then there are certain issues that each student is facing, or a group, because we have seen IITs with such intellectual abilities, but emotionally, I think they are, weak. So something on that has to be first thing is that has to be taken up and worked on, rather than only thinking of their intellectual abilities. So probably we need to have a more holistic approach. Teachers should become more holistic in approaching students. And this sort of, barricade coming up saying she's from here or he's from there, or, nothing for a teacher, a student. Teacher is a student and teacher and nothing more. That should be the one that all of us should imbibe as teachers. So I think that will take us a long way than, departmentalizing students and saying, oh, this one is, her caliber is this much, or she comes from this community, or those things should be out of a teacher's head. So teachers should be oriented to all these things.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Subhashini, Dr. Kanchana, and Lalita. With this, it's 7 p.m. and we've come to the end of our discussion.
I missed to add one point to the previous question. So after these incidents, Tamil Nadu government, along with the Kaveri Hospital, they are conducting the wellness survey in the hospitals. So that will be the, I wish to add that. So they are conducting the wellness survey in the hospitals after these incidents.
Right.
Yeah. Also, I'll add a concluding point that we live in a hierarchical society. So all these institutions also reflect these hierarchies. So I think we have to acknowledge. We have to any phenomena that happens inside these spaces, we have to approach these things having these social aspects in our mind. So That will be more accurate approach to these issues. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Lalita. Thank you. I wish to thank all the panelists and taking note of all of your points, from institutionalizing mental health systems to creating inclusive and equitable systems. We have come to the conclusion. I would like to thank all of the panelists too for spending an hour to dedicating for this panel discussion. We will be sending an event report next week to all the panelists, which will be published on our website. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.